just, I guess the last comment that I would make is if we had not had that level of oversubscription and we had had to price at kind of the levels where we thought we were going to price earlier in the week, it probably would have cost us about $500,000. So, you know, that's real money that winds up in the city's pocket at the end of the day. So I guess what I want to tell you is Mayor, Council, Kathy, great job on the financial management of the city. It really paid dividends for us. It makes my job pretty easy. So we appreciate it when we run across a city that is doing those types of things. And I just want to say thank you guys and brag on you a little bit about that. Any questions on the actual interest rate of this? I did mention, you know, rates are up a little bit from December, but if you look back over a longer period of time, about 10% of the time or so, they've been lower than where we are today. So 90% of the time, they've been higher since 1993, which, you know, it's a tough market today, but if you look back over a longer period of history, it's a great time to be accessing the marketplace.
And I realize in the scheme of things, the offering is not that big, and I was just curious, is most of the appetite for this offering, is it institutional, retail, where do you see?
So we actually had a pretty good blend. So we had a lot of retail folks. Retail folks might buy 5,000 bonds and might buy 100,000 in bonds, but it's really hard to kind of piece together enough retail orders to have a full issue. So we had some real good participation there. We had some real good participation from national money managers. So I can throw some names out if you care to hear some of them, but a lot of those participated. We had some insurance companies that come in. So insurance companies have a lot of cash reserves a lot of times, and so they'll buy municipal bonds because they're tax free and they can hold that in their portfolio. And then we also had we had a local bank that came in and bought a pretty significant balance of bonds as well. And so that was really helpful for us. And then on this particular issue, I mentioned we had a little bit of a rough market. In the first maturity, we had about $1 million of bonds that were unsold. So every other maturity was oversubscribed. We had more orders than we had bonds to sell. Part of Raymond James' job is to take the market risk off of the city. And so we had about $1 million that we actually took into our inventory and we're working through, and we'll continue to work through that over the next week or so. And so we kind of lock in the rates, take that market risk off, and I'm glad we did that because rates are up a little bit this morning. So
that's great.
So kind of those three components were what made up the order book.
Fantastic. Any questions for Matt? Well, if not, is there a motion and a second for the ordinance to provide general obligation warrants, Series 2002? Have a motion?
A second.
And a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Mayor, comments?
Council members, you've heard me talk a lot about the value of solid financial footings, and I'm glad for you to hear it from somebody other than me, and for you to hear the economic benefits of having solid financial footing. Because absent of where we're at financially, the price would have been significantly different. On July the 19th of last year, sitting right here, I rolled out a 4-point plan. I told you I thought it would take $25 million to do that. I'd hoped it would move faster simply for the sake of savings in our financial package. But government in general has never been known for being nimble. So, 6.5 months later, we've arrived. From my farming background, what I can say, the hay's in the barn. Now, we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I've called on each one of you to serve with one of our staff members on the City Hall project, Sportsplex project, and the paving project. And I hope you'll serve that. Now, my thinking behind that approach is that's probably the quickest way to get a plan and reach consensus. Because if I put it all together, then I've got to come say to you on what I've done. Don't know whether I can be successful with that or not. I talked about inclusivity and the way this is structured. Danny Gambrell asked me about some involvement, and what I remember from the military is we had squad leaders, and they kind of brought the organization together. But when you get in a firefight, everybody gets to shoot their weapon, and that's kind of the way this is going to work. And so we have a finite sum of money to work with. As I told you, inflation is chipping away. Inflation is kind of like rent. It never stops. It runs at night and on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's eroding our purchasing power as we talk. I don't want us to move at a speed that we make dumb decisions or whatever. But the quicker you can bring a plan together for what we're going to do in the way of paving, Sportsplex, and City Hall, and we get moving, the more value we'll get out of our money. We lost a lot of ground. None of Matt's doing, market moving. I never thought we'd get back anywhere close to where we're at. We had to move off of what we wanted to do a little bit, and at early part of the week, I heard Matt say we were seemed to be stuck in the 2.25, 2.3 range, and then to work it down to 1.9, that is huge. I was operating, not aggravated with Matt, I was operating at a level of consternation that caused me to call Kathy Chambliss one night. I was sitting there with my, y'all hear me talk about my country calculator and that being a pencil, and figured out real quick how much ground we'd lost from when we were, and that was eating at me big time. But thank you, Matt, for bringing us closer to what we want to do. So, like I said, the hay's in the barn. You're not going to have me tell you ought to pave this way, you ought to build a park like this. But I can speak for myself. I think I can speak for Kathy, and Delita's not here to speak for her. It's an administrative function to execute the plan. Remember Lori Lean's article about staying in your plane, and executing the plan belongs to us. When you bring us the plan, we're ready to execute it, and the sooner the better we'll get more money, more value for our money. So it's a great day for Jasper, and thank you for unanimous approval, and I hope we all live a long time. I think we'll look back, and it'll be quite evident that what we did today was a good move.
I agree with you full bore, Mayor. It's going to improve Jasper tremendously and make industrial recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've heard the comments from the mayor. Any comments from council members? No comments from the council members. Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor? Yes.
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 And yes.
I think the
Thank
air
you.
conditioner